Hello, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Monday, March 2nd, 2026.
March 2026. I mean, it really sounds like a date from a sci-fi movie we watched, 10 years ago.
It really does. And frankly, looking at the massive stack of research we have on the desk today, we might actually be living in that movie.
We kind of are.
Right. But before we get to the future, or I guess the present, I want to take you back a bit. Do you remember the whole the prompt engineering craze of 2024?
Oh, vividly. It was that period where everyone was completely convinced that if they just found the perfect magic spell,
The exact right combination of words.
yeah, the right words, and the chatbot would suddenly turn into a genius.
Exactly. We were all typing, please act as a world-class copywriter, and just hoping for the best. It felt like alchemy.
It was modern-day alchemy. We thought we were wizards, but really we were just struggling with a clumsy interface. We were basically trying to coax a calculator into writing the sonnet.
And looking back from where we sit now in 2026, that whole era it looks quaint. But I want to push back on the premise of today's deep dive right out of the gate.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the core argument in our source material is that we have officially crossed a great threshold. We've gone from using AI tools to working alongside AI agents.
Right.
Now, be honest with me. Is this actually a fundamental shift, or is this just Silicon Valley rebranding better software because they, ran out of buzzwords?
It's a really fair skepticism. And usually I would agree with you. The tech industry loves to rename things just to sell more licenses.
Yeah.
But the distinction here isn't marketing, it's architectural.
How so?
So understand the shift, you have to look at the loop. Think of the tool era, the chatbot era of 2024, as a simple call and response. You speak, it speaks. You stop, it stops. It has zero initiative.
It's a calculator. It waits for input.
Precisely. A calculator doesn't wake up in the morning and just decide to do math.
Not an agent.
An agent is structurally different because it operates on what we call an OD loop. Yeah, ODA. Observe, orient, decide, act. It's a concept from military strategy, actually.
Okay, so how does that apply to software?
Well, an agent doesn't wait for a prompt. It observes an environment, say your email inbox or your supply chain data. It orients itself to a goal you gave it, like ensure we never run out of inventory.
Right.
Then it decides on a course of action based on changing data.
Right.
And here is the kicker. It acts.
It acts without checking with me first.
That is the literal definition of agency. If it has to ask you for permission every single time, it's not an agent. It's just a very needy command line interface.
Okay, that acting without checking part is where I get a little nervous, and I think that's where you, the listener, might feel a bit of that future shock right now.
And that hesitation you're feeling. That is exactly why the sources argue that most companies today are failing at this. They think they have an AI strategy, but what they actually have is a chatbot addiction.
Chatbot addiction, that is a harsh phrase.
It is harsh, but the manifesto we're looking at argues that companies are still treating AI like a text generator. They're using it to write emails or summarize meetings. That's the training wheels phase.
So they're stuck in 2024.
Exactly. While the real economy, the one being driven by companies like Cisco and ADP, which we have data on right here, is moving toward agentic intelligence.
So let's unpack this great shift. If the chatbot era was training wheels, what does the actual bike look like now?
The visual metaphor in the source material is really striking. On one side, you have a calculator icon and it's crossed out with a big red X.
Okay.
On the other side, you have a silhouette of a human, but it's integrated with glowing circuitry. The implication is that we aren't looking at a feature upgrade. We're looking at a fundamental role change.
A colleague.
A colleague, and not just a junior intern who gets coffee. We are talking about entities that handle incredibly complex workflows. Look at the data from Cisco. They are calling this the era of connected intelligence.
I saw that term in the notes. And usually connected intelligence just means our computers talk to the internet. But Cisco means something very specific here, don't they?
They do. They aren't just talking about a human chatting with a bot. They're talking about humans working alongside agents. And this is the really mind-bending part, agents collaborating with other agents.
AI to AI collaboration.
Right. In the old model, the tool model, the human was the middleware. You would get data from your scheduling software and you would copy-paste it into your project management software. You were the bridge.
I was the API.
You were a biological API, slow, prone to error, and very expensive. In the agentic model, the scheduling agent talks directly to the project management agent. They resolve conflicts, they move resources.
But where am I in all this?
You aren't even in the loop until they need a human judgment call.
That sounds incredibly efficient, but also, does that mean I'm out of a job? Or does it mean I just have a different job?
The sources, particularly the report from ADP, argue it is a different job. They note that Chief Human Resources Officers, CHROs, are projecting massive growth in agent adoption by 2027.
Massive growth.
Yes, but the role of the human shifts from doer to manager. You become the supervisor of a fleet of digital workers.
So I am not typing the email. I'm directing the agent on the strategy of the communication.
Exactly. But, and this is a huge but, this only works if you can trust the agent. And this brings us to the most critical and frankly the scariest part of our deep dive, the governance gap.
Let's talk about that. Because if we accept that these agents have this ODA loop, they can observe and act on their own, that brings us to the nightmare scenario. The source calls it the 3 a.m. test.
Right. This is the exact moment the colleague metaphor stops being cute and starts being a massive corporate liability.
Walk us through the 3 a.m. test. I want to picture this.
Picture this. It is 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. You are sound asleep. Your supply chain agent is wide awake, monitoring global markets. It spots a 4% dip in raw lithium prices in a market halfway across the world.
Which is exactly what I hired it to do, optimize my costs.
Exactly. So it enters its decide phase.
Right.
It calculates that buying right now saves the company $50,000. So it enters the act phase. It switches vendors, cancels a standing order with your usual supplier, and signs a new purchase order to lock in the rate.
And it did its job perfectly.
On paper, yes. But you wake up at 7 a.m., you check your dashboard, the deal is done. But then you realize that this new vendor has a history of child labor violations.
Oh, wow.
And your agent wasn't programmed to scan for that because you only gave it parameters for price and reliability.
That is terrifying.
Or let's make it a bit more bureaucratic and less dramatic. What if that supply chain agent executes the buy, draining $50,000 in cash, at the exact same moment your finance agent is trying to consolidate cash flow for payroll?
So we have two robot employees fighting over the company checkbook while the CEO is sleeping.
That is the governance gap in a nutshell. Most companies are treating agents like standard software. They think it's install, configure, done. But you don't install an employee who has the authority to sign checks. You manage them. You give them guardrails.
It sounds like the skill set for 2026 isn't coding, it's parenting.
It is absolutely parenting. Or perhaps legislating is a better word. The winners in this new economy aren't asking which tool is the best. That is a 2024 question.
Right.
The 2026 question is entirely different. They're asking which workflows do we fully delegate? What are the guardrails that prevent autonomous errors? And how does human-agent accountability actually work? If two agents disagree, who breaks the tie?
And the companies that figure this out, what happens to them?
The source calls it the efficiency dividend. Companies that solve this governance puzzle won't just cut costs. They will move at a speed that headcount alone simply cannot touch.
Because humans need to sleep.
Because humans sleep, yes. If you have an army of agents working 24/7, making low-level decisions within very strict guardrails, your velocity as a company just skyrockets.
Okay, so we have clearly established the stakes here. We have these new colleagues. They are digital, they are incredibly fast, and they are working while we sleep. But they also talk to us.
They do. They communicate constantly.
They write reports, they send emails, they draft marketing copy. And this brings us to the next section of our deep dive, which I found honestly hilarious, but also deeply unsettling.
The field guide.
Yes, the Wikipedia-style field guide to AI writing. Because here's the thing. If we are treating these things as colleagues, we need to know when we are actually talking to them. And let's be honest, sometimes these colleagues sound weird. They
have an accent. A very distinct robot accent.
Exactly. And the source material breaks down exactly why they sound this way. It mentions a concept called regression to the mean. Now, I took statistics in college, but I mostly slept through it. Can you unpack this for us? Why does the most advanced technology in human history sound like a mediocre travel brochure?
It comes down to how these models define success. We have to remember that large language models are, at their core, probabilistic engines. They aren't thinking in the way you or I do. They are predicting the next word in a sequence.
You're guessing.
They are calculating probability. When an LLM is choosing the next word, it is looking at a giant bell curve of possibilities based on all the text it has ever been fed in its training data.
And it wants the fat part of the bell curve.
Precisely. It wants the path of least resistance. It wants the mathematical average. Think about it this way. Words like smelly, overcrowded, or chaotic are very specific. They are spiky. They carry a lot of risk. If the AI describes a town as smelly, it might be factually wrong.
But if it describes the town as vibrant?
Vibrant is incredibly safe.
Oh.
Vibrant is the beige of adjectives. A market can be vibrant, a school can be vibrant, a parking lot, if you stretch it enough, can be vibrant. It applies to absolutely everything, so it effectively means nothing. But statistically, it is rarely ever wrong.
So the AI isn't trying to be poetic, it is trying to be unimpeachable.
It is hedging its bets every single time it speaks. It creates what the source calls content inflation and puffery. It's this automatic reflex to puff up neutral facts to make them sound more substantial, because the model inherently thinks substantial equals good.
This perfectly explains the tapestry problem.
Oh, the tapestry. The AI absolutely loves a good tapestry.
I feel like I see this word everywhere now. A rich tapestry of culture, a complex tapestry of challenges. It's inescapable.
Tapestry is the ultimate hedge. It sounds fancy, it implies a lot of complexity, but it saves the AI from having to actually describe the details of that complexity.
Right, because that would require facts.
Exactly. Instead of listing the 12 conflicting political factions in a region, it just waves its hands and says, a rich tapestry of political views. It's lazy.
It is the linguistic equivalent of a politician answering a question without actually answering it.
That is the perfect analogy. And this brings us to the delve phenomenon, which I know you have strong feelings about.
Delve. If I never see that word again, it will be too soon. Let's delve into the data. Let's delve into the metrics.
Now, this is fascinating because it's not just about probability. This is likely a relic of something called RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback.
This is the training phase where actual humans grade the AI's answers, right?
Exactly. Back in 2023 and 2024, there were thousands of human contractors sitting at desks rating AI responses. When the AI used words like delve or leverage or underscore, the human raters, either consciously or subconsciously, marked those responses as more professional or higher quality than responses that use simple words like dig or use.
So we did this to ourselves. We trained it to sound like this.
We absolutely did. We rewarded the model for sounding like a corporate consultant. And now the model over-indexes on that reward. It thinks humans love it when I say delve. I ain't going to delve into everything.
It's like a dog that learned a trick and now does it constantly, even when you don't ask for it.
That's exactly it. And that's why you get these vocabulary tells. The brochure speak default. Words like nestled, showcase, intricate, it turns everything into a sales pitch. But the field guide goes much deeper than just vocabulary. It talks about structural tics, too.
The dangling participle addiction, this one drives me crazy once I started noticing it.
It is everywhere. It's the sentence structure where you state a very simple fact, insert a comma, and then add an ingoing word to explain why that fact matters.
Like, the company launched a new toaster, highlighting its commitment to breakfast innovation.
That is a perfect example. Humans just don't talk like that. A human would say, that company launched a new toaster. It's supposed to be really good at bagels.
Right, it's just a toaster.
But the AI has this overwhelming compulsion to synthesize. It cannot just let a fact sit there in isolation. It has to wrap it up with a bow. It has to force an unearned sense of closure or meaning. It always ends with fostering a sense of community or marking a pivotal moment.
It feels like the AI is insecure. It is constantly trying to convince me that what it just said was deeply important.
It is performing competence. And that performance very often involves another structural tell, the rule of three.
Ah, the listicle format. Everything comes in threes.
It's inherited directly from persuasive marketing training data, blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The AI has learned that things sound much more authoritative when grouped into exactly 3 items.
So it forces it.
It forces it constantly. If you ask it for reasons, it'll give you 3. If you ask for examples, it gives you 3. Even if there are only 2 actual logical reasons in the data, it will hallucinate a third one just to satisfy the mechanical grouping pattern.
That is deeply annoying. But there is another category of tells that I think is even more revealing, because it's not just about writing style. It is about truth. The weasel words.
Yes, vague attribution. This is a massive governance issue disguised as a writing style.
Phrases like experts argue, critics claim, industry reports suggest.
My immediate question is always, who? Who are the observers? Name one specific person.
And the AI usually can't.
Or it simply won't. It is simulating a consensus that doesn't exist. It might cite one single source, but use language that implies several publications agree. It is the ultimate trust me, bro.
And in a business context, that is incredibly dangerous. If you are a manager making a strategic decision based on a report that says experts suggest market growth, and those experts are phantoms, you are in serious trouble.
Absolutely. And then, of course, beyond the words and the structure, we have to talk about how the output actually looks visually. the slide deck aesthetic.
The bolding. Oh my goodness, the bolding.
It loves boldface abuse. It bolds every key takeaway. It bolds every single noun it thinks is important. It genuinely thinks it being helpful, but it is actually just shouting at your eyeballs.
It feels like it's treating me like a skimmer, like it knows I'm not actually going to read the paragraph, so it just highlights the buzzwords.
Well, think about its training data again. It's trained heavily on re-ADM files, listicles, and technical documentation.
Mm.
That is the format it grew up on. So it defaults to that inline header style. You know the one? Bullet point, bold header, colon, short description.
It's relentless. And the M dashes, it uses M dashes to artificially punch up clauses, mimicking the rhythm of sales copy.
Yes. And we cannot forget the emoji plague.
I was hoping we would get to this, using emojis as structural markers in formal business writing.
The rocket ship emoji for launch, the little brain emoji for cognitive pattern or strategy, the handshake emoji for partnership.
It is like a corporate executive trying way too hard to be cool on social media.
It is exactly that energy. It's very, how do you do, fellow kids? But in a quarterly earnings report. Oh, and the meta commentary. Have you noticed the throat clearing?
Like when it says, here is the breakdown.
Yes. Or, in conclusion, or overall, this underscores its importance. It's the robot constantly narrating its own process.
Okay, so we have fully diagnosed the patient here. We know the symptoms of AI speak. We have the addiction to chatbots, the very real governance gap, and this regression to the mean that makes every single document sound like a bland, vibrant tapestry.
We know it's wrong.
But we promised you, the listener, a way out. We don't just want to complain. This is section 4, the fix.
Engineering better agents.
If we are going to work alongside these agents, if we are going to be their managers, as the data suggests, we need to train them better. We cannot just accept the delve. Our source provides some really actionable pointers for prompt engineering and fine-tuning. And what I really love about these is that they aren't just telling the AI to write better. They are strict engineering constraints.
That is the key word right there, constraints. You do not get better output by asking nicely. You get better output by setting hard boundaries.
Let's go through the big ones from the source. The first one is kill the significance.
This directly addresses the content inflation and puffery we talked about. You give the AI a self-check instruction in its system prompt. You tell it, before you output a sentence, ask yourself, does this clause add a verifiable fact? If not, delete it.
That is a brutal constraint.
It is necessary.
Yeah.
It forces the model to stick strictly to the data. If the AI wants to end a sentence with, marking a pivotal moment, the logic check kicks in. Is it a verifiable fact that it was pivotal? No, that is an opinion. Delete.
I feel like that would make the output very dry.
It does make it dry. But in business intelligence, dry is infinitely better than hallucinated puffery. You want a clear lens, not a kaleidoscope.
Fair point. Okay, the second fix. Demand specificity. This is designed to fight the regression to the mean.
Right. You have to explicitly tell the model, reward specificity over sentiment. You have to force it to leave the safe, boring middle of the bell curve. Let's say the source material says a person invented the train coupling device.
Yeah.
The AI cannot be allowed to change that to a generic phrase like a revolutionary titan of industry.
You have to literally tell it, do not smooth this over.
Exactly. The prompt should say, preserve specific, unusual, or quantitative facts. You want the spikes. You want the jagged edges of reality, not the perfectly smooth pebble of vibrancy.
I love that, the jagged edges of reality. The third constraint is my personal favorite. Negative constraints. This is basically a no-fly list for words.
It is incredibly effective. You explicitly ban the problem words. You write in the prompt, do not use the words tapestry, delve, vibrant, or nestled.
And prohibit the rule of 3.
Yes. Tell it, do not group items into threes unless there are exactly 3 items in the source text. Do not start a concluding paragraph with in conclusion.
It really feels like training a puppy. No.
Yeah.
Drop it. Drop the delve.
It is very similar to training a dog.
Yeah.
But there's a deep technical reason why this works so well. When you apply a negative constraint, you are mathematically blocking off the most probable paths in the neural network. You are putting a massive concrete roadblock on the easy route.
So the AI is forced to find a different, less cliché way to route its response.
Exactly. By blocking the cliché, you force a kind of mechanical creativity, or at the very least, you force variety. The AI has to work harder to find the next word, which usually results in more human-sounding text.
The fourth fix from the guide is the citation mandate. This fixes those terrible weasel words we hated earlier.
The constraint is simple. Do not use the words experts, critics, or observers without naming at least one specific person or entity from the source text.
If you can't name them, you can't quote them.
It forces absolute accountability. If the AI cannot find a name in its context window, it has to drop the sentence entirely. That instantly makes the writing more trustworthy because it strips out the hallucinated consensus. It stops the AI from hiding behind phantom authorities.
And lastly, we have context matching.
This is a subtle one, but very important for global teams. The default training data for most of these massive models is heavily biased toward American English. But if you are writing about an Indian university or drafting your proposal for a British audience, the tone, spelling, and idioms should reflect that.
So you explicitly tell the model, detect the variety of English based on the topic.
Right. Don't just default to U.S. spelling. Be a linguistic chameleon. Match the context of the subject matter rather than enforcing an American corporate voice on everything.
This is all so incredibly actionable. It is moving from the passive hope of, I sure hope the AI writes something good today, to the active management of, I am engineering the AI to write exactly what I need.
That is the fundamental shift from tool user to agent manager. You are the director on a movie set. The agent is the actor. You have to give them better stage directions. If you just tell an actor to act naturally, they will usually overact. You have to say, walk to the door, open it, and do not smile.
Give them the boundaries.
Exactly. Give them boundaries and let them operate within them.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We've gone all the way from the ODA loops of autonomous agents to the specific banned words in their vocabulary.
It is a lot to digest.
It is. So I want to bring it back to your desk right now, today, because a lot of people listening might not be CHROs at ADP making strategic multi-year plans. They might just be trying to get through their inbox before 5 o'clock.
And that is completely fine. We established earlier that the chatbot era was just training wheels. The agent era is the real ride. And if you want to stay on the bike as the economy shifts, you need to start deploying these things in your own day-to-day life.
And the homework from our source document is really practical for exactly this. I love practical takeaways.
It is very straightforward. The source suggests a simple 3-step exercise to start your personal agent deployment. Step 1, list your 10 most repetitive workflows, the boring stuff, the stuff you absolutely hate doing every week.
Copying data from one software to another, scheduling endless meetings, summarizing the same weekly reports, the soul-crushing stuff.
Exactly. Step 2, look at that list and flag the workflows that need absolutely zero creative judgment. The ones where there's a clear right answer and a clear wrong answer and no maybe in between.
Payroll processing, basic data entry, reformatting a spreadsheet for a client.
Step 3, that list you just made. That is your agent deployment shortlist. Those are the specific jobs you hire a digital colleague for today. You don't use them for the creative strategy. You don't use them for the high-stakes vendor negotiation. You use them for the repetitive, rule-based grind.
You start there. You master the governance on the boring stuff. Then you expand.
Exactly. Don't try to build Skynet on day one. Build a really, really good payroll clerk. Build a clerk that doesn't buy lithium at 3 a.m. without your permission.
I think that is incredibly sound advice. And I want to leave you with a final thought, something to mull over as you go about the rest of your week.
Go for it.
The sources warn that companies mastering governance will move at speeds headcount simply can't touch. That is the macro business case. But on a personal, micro level, next time you are reading an email, maybe it's from a vendor, maybe it's from a coworker, maybe it's from your boss.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Look for the word delve. Look for a sentence that awkwardly ends with highlighting its significance. Look for a list of exactly 3 perfectly balanced bullet points preceded by an emoji.
The tells. Look for the tells.
Ask yourself, am I talking to a human? Or am I talking to their new colleague? Because in 2026, you might not be able to tell the difference unless you know exactly where to look.
And if you do spot it, maybe send them a link to this deep dive. Help them fix their system prompt.
Be a good neighbor. Help your friends delete tapestry from their vocabulary once and for all.
Absolutely. Friends don't let friends sound like bots.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the reality of 2026. We hope you feel a little more prepared to work alongside and effectively manage your new digital colleagues.
Stay specific, everyone. Demand those jagged edges of reality.
See you next time.